is a Bramble Jam podcast. Hi, I'm Bran, and I love 1980s Christmas movies.
I'm Dan. I despise 1980s Christmas movies.
I'm Alonzo, and the recent spate makes 1980s Christmas movies look awesome. And this
is the Deck the Hallmark podcast. Hello, everybody.
I do think all of this is relative.
Sure.
Depending on what we've been watching recently.
80s made-for-TV Christmas movies.
Yeah, because 1980s Christmas movies, I mean, come on. But you don't even like Christmas Vacation that much.
I don't.
Not a big Christmas Vacation.
I don't get it.
But you're a big Christmas story boy.
I don't get, oh my gosh.
Come on.
Big Christmas story.
What's your favorite, Alonzo, what's your favorite 1980s Christmas movie? Does one stick out?
I mean, this is in that category of like I would consider it a Christmas movie, but not everybody does. But there's a rom-com called Some Girls with Patrick Dempsey and Jennifer Connelly that a lot of people haven't seen.
Yeah.
That came out in like 88, 89 and is set at Christmas. And it's all shot in Quebec City during the winter, and it's beautiful.
Wow.
And it's a fun kind of quirky movie. It feels very sort of like a Euro sex comedy.
Wow. Never heard
I
of
saw Eurosex Comedy
Eurosex
Live.
Comedy Live. They were
phenomenal.
So, man, so
grotesque,
good.
but phenomenal.
But so good. I mean, tight. They had been practicing. You could tell.
Can't say that. Are you? Is there a movie, Alonzo? Like for me, I don't get the whole appeal of Christmas Vacation. Is there a mainstream Christmas classic that you just think is just like overrated? You don't get it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not super into the cult of Christmas Vacation. Probably Jingle All the Way.
Jingle All the Way sucks.
It's not. I don't think that's funny in the slightest.
It's a terrible movie.
Yeah, but it's in that category of Space Jam of like if you were 8 years old when you saw it, then you will carry it with you for the rest of your life. You know,
sure was a lot.
You were probably like 6 when you saw it. Yeah.
Gosh, man, are you kidding me?
Oh.
It's turbo time.
Oh, Jingle All the Way. Space Jam's good by comparison, and I don't even like Space Jam. I don't think either one are good.
It still astounds me that Jake Lloyd got like roles.
Jake Lloyd,
it's phenomenal.
That dude just wakes up counting money. He has to. Phantom Menace.
Poor guy, like went into seclusion after Phantom Menace because the internet was so awful. So like I feel for him.
Yeah. Yes, God bless him.
But Jingle All the Way, still phenomenal.
Yeah. And then last week's movie, Christmas in Carolina.
Of course.
Come on. Like after that, it's all downhill, guys.
I don't get it. I don't get the appeal. Speaking of not getting the appeal, let's talk about A Christmas Without Snow.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Oh, the sorrow on Alonzo's face when I said that.
Oh.
Like
Brand's going to be harder on it than I am, Alonzo. I'm just letting you know.
Okay.
Let's talk about it. It originally...
Ephraim.
Let's go, Eve. It originally aired on CBS.
Yes.
On December 9th, 1980. Just appointment viewing. And it went a little something like this.
1980.
Zoe is a recently divorced woman who has moved to a new city. She left her son back in Omaha, and she's looking for a job. And in the process, things are tough. She's trying to figure it out. And she kind of finds refuge at this new church. And everyone starts talking about this new choir director that's coming in. What's the deal with this guy? What's going on? It's his first day. He's quite the mystery. The priest fella introduces him, and he's like, hey, I think this guy's going to do great work, but don't expect miracles. Ephraim Adams is his name, and he comes up and he's like, music is my calling. Music is a craft. It takes hard work, and I do expect miracles. Yeah! We are going to do a special Christmas song this year, Handel's Messiah. It's going to kick your butt, but we're going to work hard here, and we're going to do it. And if you want to leave now, I'll understand. The choir is made up of quite the group of people, and Ephraim makes people try out for solos in front of everyone, which is unheard of.
Yeah, how dare you?
Back in my day, we used to just be able to try out in private. Not in Ephraim's choir, you don't. There's a lady who does get a solo, but her ego gets in the way and she storms out. The choir is getting better by the day, but Ephraim keeps being all business about it and tells this old woman to get lost because she's not any good anymore. The organ gets vandalized and they blame this poor black fella. Spoiler alert, not his fault. Her son shows, no, not her. The son of the main lady shows up. It's a big moment. The church says, hey, we should get an electric organ. And Ephraim's like, over my dead body, we'll get an electric organ.
Is that the end of that, or do we get to hear some of it?
Well, after finding out that they can't get the real one fixed until February, he's like, well, consider me dead. Bring it on in. They give the electric organ a try, and it sounds fine, but Ephraim hates it. The choir decides to work on it together, because I guess that's just something you can do as a regular folk, to try to surprise Ephraim with the repaired organ. The choir is really becoming quite the tight-knit group, and at a holiday dinner, Ephraim really decides to have some fun, loosen up, and it promptly almost kills him, and they call an ambulance to bring him out. It's time for the night of the big performance, and Ephraim comes rolling in on his wheelchair, and we get to hear every single thing that the choir does. They crush it, and that, my friends, was the Christmas Without Snow.
We did it. Yeah. This is an Alonzo pick, guys.
Alonzo, you don't seem pleased.
Well, you actually got stuff wrong in the plot synopsis.
That doesn't surprise me. We did not watch this one together.
What did I get wrong?
Okay, first of all, the snooty lady doesn't get a solo, and that's why she storms out.
She stormed out. She didn't get one.
She stormed out.
Because she doesn't
Sorry,
get a solo.
she was trying to get a solo. Sorry.
Yes. Also, the reason that the electric organ is terrible, and I think that might have had something to do with the problem with, unfortunately, this movie fell into the public domain, so there's a lot of crappy versions of it floating around. Anybody can stream it for free. The one that we watched on Tubi, you can't really quite tell, but what happens is the electric organ, for some reason, picks up police scanner stuff, and it goes out through the speakers, and that's why the electric organ is terrible.
Oh, I didn't get that at all.
I didn't get that at all.
Okay, that might have been a problem with the mix.
I got a free trial of Fandor, which is a real thing, because it had it commercial free, and I watched it on Fandor, and mine was a 4:3 screen, and all of it was real. It was tough sledding from an audio standpoint.
I mean, it was made in 4:3 because it's 1980 television.
Yeah.
But I would love for somebody to renew the copyright and like make this movie look good, because they all look kind of junky now.
I just got that they didn't like the electric organ because it's not a
me
pipe
too.
organ, which is a perfectly fine argument.
Right, but there's a whole joke where they try it. They get a 90-day free trial of the electric organ, and the first time they use it on a Sunday, it somehow the radio signals from the police cars gets picked up and booms out over the church.
There you have it. Now,
Boy,
I had to correct Brandon on a few things in the plot when I got here.
Sorry, guys, I did the best that I could. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and we'll break this movie down here on Deck the Hallmark. Welcome back. It's 1980 and it's Deck the Hallmark, and we're talking Christmas Without Snow.
Is that a big plot point in this movie, Brandon?
I mean, maybe it is. Maybe like
San Francisco. She's in San Francisco. She's used to snow in Omaha, I guess. Is that reason why it's called that?
I think it's meant to be kind of a bittersweet title, basically.
Well, let's get to Alonzo. I think he's going to clear things up for me. Alonzo, what do you think about this movie? Have you seen it before?
Look, I have seen it before. I saw it in 1980 when it originally aired, and I was 13.
Maybe this is your jingle all the way.
I was just going to say, maybe this is my Space Jam. I don't know. I found it really moving at the time, and I revisited it in 2009 when I was writing Have Yourself a Movie Little Christmas, and it held up for me. And I thought, and I did not include a lot of made-for-TV movies in that book, but I included this one because I think it's really well acted. It's very beautifully put together. I like that it is, this is so un-Hallmark in terms of like you don't get a lot of the big stuff. You don't get the big, Ebenezer Scrooge goes from being like the meanest miser in town to like super generous and, loving everybody. And like all of the plot things, all of the character moments are really subtle and human sized. And you know, it's just it's a beautiful film, and I think that you know, I don't know what y'all didn't see in it, but I still think it's great.
I thought the acting was wonderful.
And Dave agrees with me. He just handed me a note, says, "You are correct. It is legitimately good." And he's tougher to please than Dan.
That handwriting is really solid. I would not
school
have been
teacher.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, that never stopped
I was
me.
a school teacher, Alonzo. My handwriting was terrible.
I thought the acting was great. I couldn't have been more bored if you tried. And I'm sorry, everybody. Like I miss Gathering too. I kid.
No.
Guys, I kid.
Absolutely
Gathering
not.
2 is significantly worse. It's just not a good movie. This one is a good movie. The performances are good. Just was boring for Bran. I'm sorry. I did the best I could. Gathering, loved it. Had a blast. This one didn't have a blast. But it's good. It's good. I just was bored with it. I'm sorry. God, Alonzo, I'm sorry. Please be my friend.
It's okay.
I walked into the studio this morning.
We'll get together. We can go in separate rooms. I'll watch Jingle All the Way. You watch this, and we come out and we celebrate Christmas together.
I watched this last night. Bran watched it this morning. I walked into the studio and he says, "Alonzo, this is the last time."
This was when they told me that we were doing Christmas in Carolina, I said, "Okay, fine."
Yeah,
and we're also doing
yeah.
Christmas without so. And I never watched these movies on the same night for our taping days. But after a Christmas in Carolina, it's like, oh my God, I have to watch
Yes,
Christmas without
yeah.
so right now to purge that whole experience.
So I would say watching this movie was how I believe Bran feels about watching like black and white movies. Like there's a good movie here. I just don't know if I can get on its wavelength. I don't know if it's because I'm just a millennial or because I have a short attention span, but it was like there's a very formulaic, moving, like underdog story here that they're telling, and they're doing it with a good deal of integrity. Like there's no melodrama really in this movie, even with a woman out, you know, in San Francisco without her son, who's back with grandma. And it was just hard for me to really latch on and love start to finish. And I think it's because there are long stretches of just singing in the movie. And everything else, when the dialogue is happening, I got back invested. But when they go to these long stretches where he's teaching them how to sing, and it's not much of his feedback, it's just long. Like that movie's an hour 35, and there's probably 15 minutes of singing in it, 15 or 20. And I feel like that's kind of where it lost me. Whereas if it's like a football game or something, like that's the montage where
I think what you're trying to say, it's no Sister Act.
Dear Lord. The film does movies like The Gathering and this feel like they want to make Christmas TV movies a respectable profession, and you can tell that. And so I love The Gathering. I appreciated this movie more than I probably liked it. But it is like whenever you get a little bit out of Ephraim, like just a little bit of like encouragement, it's very moving. Like when they, and I don't want to, I've got feels or whatever, but they, whenever they start to latch on to this guy and say, hey, he wants what's best for us. We want what's best for him. There's this symbiotic relationship that really works very, very well. It was 9:30 when I started it last night, and so some of it did feel like a chore for me to lock in on when I'm used to such cinematic classics as Christmas in Carolina. So, but yeah, I appreciate it more than I like it. Whereas The Gathering, I just think is one of the best Christmas TV movies ever made.
Fair enough.
Yeah, are you disappointed in us?
No, look, this is we're all on a journey together with these movies.
He's disappointed in us.
This guy doesn't believe in ranking things. As far as he knows, Christmas in Carolina and the Christmas Without Snow are ranked the same.
Yeah. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, because not wanting to do ranking, that's what that means.
That's what that means.
It's all
yeah. That's right. Yeah, it's all equal in Alonzo's mind.
Let's get to all the feels part of the show. We talk about what in this movie gave us feels. Alonzo?
Ready.
I have many. I like the woman on her own feels. Like this was the era of like an unmarried woman and a lot of movies about sort of women, getting out of bad marriages and kind of figuring out what's next. I think this movie is really smart about how, it's very upfront about these are the opportunities for somebody who just showed up in town and like, can you type, and the phone calls with the mother where she's like, well, you need to like find yourself a man or come back to Nebraska or settle down and blah, blah, blah. And she's like, nope, to the point where she hangs up on her mother at one point. I'm like, all right, yes, you go, liberated woman. I love the amateur speech. Like that has stayed with me my entire life. When the snooty woman doesn't get the solo that she thinks that she's entitled to, she lays into Ephraim and to the choir and says, ugh, it's a bunch of amateurs, and like storms out. And he's like, she's right. You are amateurs. But amateur is not a pejorative. It's not an insult. It means that you are doing a thing for the love of it. Right. None of you are getting paid to be here. You're here because you love this music, you love this church, and you love this choir. And that's why you're here. And that's a high praise that you are amateurs. And I just think that's such a great speech. And John Houseman delivers it like only John Houseman can deliver it. So like that's just seriously, I saw this movie when I was 13 years old and I've never forgotten that speech.
Yeah.
And then also the scene where the old lady gets kicked out of the choir. We talk a lot lately about Ted Lasso, and one of the things that's so great about that show is this notion that kindness can be dramatic, that like we've been conditioned to think that drama is about conflict and about like people having fights in lily ponds or whatever, that it's all got to be like insults and one-upmanship and all this kind of stuff. But sometimes doing the right thing and being nice and compassionate to somebody else can be good storytelling. So the fact that this woman who has been with the choir forever and is just like not able to find a key with a map now, he takes her aside and is like, he doesn't want to have to do it, but he knows he has to do it. She doesn't want it to happen, but she knows it has to happen. And she lets him off the hook by being like, you know what? You need an assistant. I need to go and make sure the robes are updated. People don't have their music. Like she basically like saves him from having to deliver this crushing blow to her by like volunteering to come in and do something else and to still be part of the choir and to still have this place to go to and to be around these people. I just think it's a lovely scene and it's beautifully acted. Ruth Nelson, great actress. She's in Robert Altman's A Wedding and like a million other things. And Houseman is such a pro. I mean, like Houseman goes back to like Orson Welles in the Mercury Theater. Yeah. And then in the 70s, he wins an Oscar.
He won an Oscar, yeah.
Yeah, for The Paper Chase, where he plays this like stentorian, stern, really like, taskmaster of a law school professor at Harvard. And so in this movie, you see him also kind of having that taskmaster kind of thing where he's very, he's tough and he's demanding and he wants stuff out of you, but he does it in a way where it's like, I want you to give me this and you want to give me this because you giving it to me is going to mean that you are better than you were when you started this process. So yeah, I think there's a lot of feels here.
I got, a church music group feels. Growing up in the church, the first time I ever got to play with other musicians was at church when I was first getting started, playing guitar at like 13, 14, and just having the freedom and the space to do that was great. And going from being really bad to being a little bit better than bad and seeing progress is an exciting thing, and having that freedom to do that is great. And I really loved his speech early on about how he views music, and I thought all of that was really great. And so I got church music feels.
Yeah, I think that the amateur speech is wonderful, and John Houseman is great in it. But I'm a sucker for a great sports movie, like even a decent sports movie. That's kind of my Christmas movie. That and courtroom dramas, like those two things, like bring it. People automatically are like, Dan, I mean, you just like mindless action movies. No, like courtroom dramas, like David Dobkin's The Judge with Downey Jr. and Robert Duvall. Bring it home. Bring it right now. Let's go. And so the thing that happens in these sports movies is the coach isn't liked by the team, and then at some point it flips. Some sort of gesture or act of some kind, like in Remember the Titans, they're chanting left side, strong side, and like Herman Boone's in the background, or like in Hoosiers, there's a scene where Jimmy Chitwood is like, Coach stays or I leave or something like that, and Gene Hackman's back there. Well, when he walks in and they've repaired the organ, that is what we get in this movie. We get a legitimate scene where in his very own way, he's like, okay, all right, they care as much as I do. And he does want to be accepted even if he says he doesn't. And that scene really works for me. The old lady getting fired from the choir, I will save for Wait What, because you and I disagree on that one, even though it's well acted. But the scene with the organ and the amateur scene are both wonderful, like wonderful scenes. Big fan of both of them.
Let's take a quick break. We'll come back, and you guys can get in a fight.
No.
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. No, I think you guys can get in a fight.
I just think it's a different, like we had very different takes on that scene based upon our experience, I think.
You're going to get in a fight. Yeah. We'll be right back here at Deck 12. What's up?
We're doing old Budweiser commercials.
You know what? How I just feel bad now. This is this is Alonzo's Jingle All the Way, and we're Budweiser it up over here.
To say it's Alonzo's Jingle All the Way makes it sound worse than it is.
Yeah, I really kind of resent that implication.
Yeah, that's bad.
I'm gonna keep saying
that's right.
Because it's turbo time, man. Let's get to the Wait What. This is part of the show. We talk about what in this movie made us go, wait, what? Alonzo, any wait what's for you?
Yeah, a couple. I mean, as I agree with Dan that the reveal of the fixed organ is a great moment, and yeah, I mean, this is kind of a sports movie in terms of you have the team of feisty underdogs and whatnot. But the actual doing of it, given how meticulously like the metal work and the woodwork, and like you can't just throw this thing together. Like you have to be like super expert thing. It's very let's put on a show. It's like, well, I can do metal work. Oh, and her husband fixes cabinets. Let's go.
You know what's not complex at all is pipe organs.
Yeah, the guy tapping on the pipe organ is one of my favorite scenes. He's just like a little tap here, a little tap there. It's about right. One more tap right here.
Like there should be a dude with a spectrometer or something. You know, like this is very precise.
He's just up there, pap, 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 pap. It's great.
I will also say that, and maybe this is because a lot of the time is allotted to singing, or because maybe this should have been a longer sort of feature film. There are more characters than there are character resolutions in this film.
Yeah.
So
correct.
Like the woman in the choir whose husband dies of cancer, and she's very upset about this, and like, you know, has this big scene with the priest where she's like, you know, people die here, and why are you giving me false hope, and there is no God. Yeah. And then we don't ever revisit that at all. That seems kind of a big dangling thing.
Yeah, for a movie takes place in a church, for someone to scream there is no God and leave and them not to resolve it seems like they didn't quite handle it well. Alonzo's over there like, yeah, no, that's wrapped up. Next.
I'm not saying she has to come back to the fold, but like, let's have like maybe a calmer conversation later.
Yes.
Something, you know. Yeah. You know, like we get Bea Richards as the mother, or the grandmother rather, of the guy who's falsely accused of vandalizing the organ, who's mainly seems to be there to sort of teach them a spiritual over Thanksgiving, and then we never hear from her again. You know, there's a decent comeuppance for Muriel, the sort of man-hungry single who falsely accuses the black kid of having been the vandal for the sake of him being the one black kid in the orchestra or in the choir, and he does, you know, when she tries to do a sort of like mealy-mouthed Karen apology later, he's like, I hope you figure out what it is you're really angry about, and just walks off like that. That's nice. That is one of the few sort of like kind of, you know, let's tie a bow on that one that plays really well. And I do love the line, "Do you have any drinks that come in a pineapple?" But yeah, those were my main two things. I think they throw a lot of character stuff out there, and they don't necessarily sweep it all up at the end.
And James Cromwell, like, he's in the movie. They got his 25 minutes in. James Cromwell's there, like he's doing things and stuff. He's important, I guess.
I don't have many things that confused me. I will just say that I think even mattress companies would tell the organ companies to pump the brakes a little bit on the 90-day free trial of an electric organ.
Yes.
That seems like a very long free trial.
Yes.
It seems like a very long free trial.
Knock that out on a Sunday, I feel like. Yeah.
Even Casper's like, whoa.
Hold on now. For an organ?
That seems like a long time. There's a guy at one point I know is kind of his deal, but they say, hey, what denomination do you belong to? And he says, I belong to the Church of Beautiful Women. I mean, you kind of got to love that guy for throwing that out there, but also he confused me, and that's all I got.
Yeah. It was late. I wrote this down, and I don't know if it makes any sense, but I wrote down, most of Ephraim's directing motions look like he's about to join in on the wave at a ball game, but just misses it. he's like,
dang it.
Oh no! I'm late. I'm early. I'm late. I'm sorry. Next time around.
Yes.
I don't know when it will be okay to say that someone goes through babysitters like Sherman went through Georgia, but it's not yet.
It's also not okay to say gypped, which they say in this movie.
in the movie, but I couldn't, as someone who 100% believes the Confederacy was wrong, but also lives in South Carolina, and Sherman literally just paves a path of fire to the sea, and they're like, man, that kid's so terrible. The mom goes through babysitters like Sherman went through Georgia. What? I know it's 1980, and that was 41 years ago. Hard no. You can't do it. Rewrite, please, if you could.
Knock it off, San Francisco.
Yes, I grew up in the church, and I can tell you this right now. You just don't tell an old lady she can't sing in the choir. Of the things, it was played out as well as it could have played out. But to tell an old lady who probably has spent her life in the church that she just can't put on a choir robe, even though it's a voluntary church activity, I couldn't get over it.
Yeah, we don't do that here, man.
You don't.
Don't do that here.
The idea of it alone and I'm all about confrontation. The idea of it alone made me shudder. The best choir directors in Southern churches get those people to sing quietly. That's the best. If you are a choir director at a church in an old Southern church, if you can get those people to sing softer, what is that? The opposite of forte? What is it? I don't know what it is.
Sotto.
Yeah. If you can get them to sing
Sotto voce.
where you can't just hear them really specifically, then you deserve a medal, right? And this guy's just coming in and he's just cleaning house. He's like, we got to win the Handel's Messiah championships, okay? And we can't do that with your terrible off-key voice up there. So you're out of here. It was hard. There were ladies in churches from my entire childhood that I pictured, and I was just like, no one would do this. No, under no circumstance.
Okay, I buy that for a Southern church, and it's the choir that's doing the hymns or whatever. But this guy coming in to do this complicated piece of music.
Yeah.
Did you buy that, or
I thought that the performances were great in the scene, but I just kept going.
That conversation goes like this: you can't be in the choir anymore. I helped pay for that pipe organ.
Yeah.
Well, then by all means, stay in the choir. No. That's how that goes.
No, and then you cut to the next business meeting that involves the entire church, and someone brings a motion to fire the choir director.
Exactly right.
That's what happens, right? And then lastly, there is a point where a guy is wearing a shirt, and it's got a picture of Handel, and it says, "I can handle the Messiah," and I just. Look, I feel like we're pretty loose here with our understanding of sometimes how crazy and ridiculous religion is and sounds. I can handle the Messiah just seemed like it was out of bounds to me.
Well, that's the gift that he gives all of them that shirt.
I just couldn't. I couldn't quite grasp it. That was a tough one for me as well.
Daniel, T-shirt culture was still in its early stages in 1980. Everybody thought they were hilarious.
They were going through shirts like Sherman went through Georgia.
Exactly. We were just coming out of the CB radio craze. That's where we were as a people.
Yeah, that's all I got.
Let's get to the what the CBS. We're talking about any questions that we still have. Alonzo?
Well, as I was saying before about the whole, we don't get a lot of resolutions here. I do admire the fact that this movie is more interested in tying up the performance of the Messiah. That's really what this has been working up to. That's what the real kind of like ending here is, and that's what matters. So I think they've left a lot on the table if they want to come back to, like, you know, Zoe meets a guy who's the brother of the soloist, who seems like the first like non-schnook single man that she's ever met. When's the son going to start going back to school? Because he just seems to be loping around the church a lot. You know, there's a lot of stuff in her life that I think we could totally come back to in, you know, a Memorial Day without, you know, sunshine or something. Because the movie is like, this is not so important. They sing the Messiah. That's really all you need to know.
Boy, do they.
Yeah. I just have a question about the electric organ guy. He's, you know, doing his thing, and he's
Lady
like,
of
this is
Spain.
great, huh? He stands up and he invites Seth to sit down and try the organ out. And he says, Sid, can I call you Sid? And he says, my name's Seth. My question is Sid, can I call you Sid, implies that he thinks Sid's name is longer than Sid. Like Sid will be his nickname. What does he think Seth's name is?
I think he thinks that all Jewish men are named Sid. Just going to throw that one out there.
Wow.
Sid, can I call you Sid?
Can I call you Sid?
Oh, it's
Mike.
Seth.
Mike,
can I call you Mike?
Yeah, that's a
Sydney?
I guess that's the best you got.
Siddhartha.
My only what the CBS was the woman who screamed, like, you know, God's not real, blah blah blah, to the church, and then we don't get any sort of bow on it. It's just like, oh, okay, well, that happens. Next. But this movie does have a feel of being a lot more realistic from a standpoint of people who go to church. Like, it doesn't just tie a bow on everybody who goes to church is actually super duper like religious or into it, as more as it is just a customary thing that you do. And so that part of it worked. But this woman, to have this, it was the most dramatic, like overtly dramatic moment of the entire film. And it's just like, right. Okay, I guess we'll find out in the sequel. A summer without sun, or something to that effect.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
Yeah.
We did, everybody. Congratulations, Alonzo. Would you like to have the final word on this one?
I would say, you know, maybe if you're interested, to do a little Googling on John Corty, Korty, who co-wrote and directed this movie. He holds a really fascinating place in film history. He won an Academy Award in the 70s for a documentary called Who Are the DeBolts and Why Do They Have 17 Children? And he really kind of spearheaded the Northern California filmmaking movement. He was a mentor to George Lucas. He was a mentor to Francis Ford Coppola. And he gave 18-year-old David Fincher his first job in the movies. So he won an Emmy for the autobiography of Miss Jane Pittman. He also did a not so great Christmas movie called Ms. Scrooge, which reunited him with Cicely Tyson, and she plays a female version of Scrooge, and it's not one of my favorites of the Scrooge is a mean career lady, but you know, they can't all be winners.
Boy, I did not know that about John Corty.
Try and stop me from doing that research, Alonzo. Try and stop me. We did, everybody. Yay. Congratulations. We'll be back tomorrow with another one.
Yeah, of course.
The
humdinger tomorrow next week.
Gonna be very excited for it.
Not
Until then,
Heinz joint,
a summer without sunshine, I think.
Yes.
Yeah, summer without sun.
Until then, may we be the first to wish you a Merry Christmas.
Deck the Hallmarks of Bramble Jam podcast. It's presented by Philo TV. It's produced by Brandon Gray and recorded live in, Greenville, South Carolina. Set decor is by Plum at Haywood Mall. For more information on Deck the Hallmark, you can go to deckthehallmark.com. For more information on Bramble Jam Podcast Network, you can go to bramblejampodcast.com.